I've got to ask, last time you were on this show, did you smash out Elden Ring?
Oh, no, I was trying to, but it's one of those games where I have all good intentions of finishing it, but it just defeats me. Do you know what I mean? And I can't go back. I never finished the first Dark Souls. Just couldn't do it. It's just got to the point where it was just I was miserable because I couldn't beat it. But yeah, that's where I am.
Are you saying you got defeated by a game?
Yeah, it's one of those though where like you feel like, oh yeah, I'm doing classy, and you'll get to a boss that was like, oh yeah, my build's awful. What was I thinking? I can never beat this guy. Yeah, that's just me with a lot of games. To be fair, now I'm getting too old.
Anyway, we're talking to obviously Benji. Last time we was on the show, we're talking about wrestling in Newcastle. Today, we're going to be talking about the wrestling side of things. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. We've kind of dropped on a bit here because you're obviously celebrating 9 years this week.
Yeah, or was it Tuesday?
Yeah.
9 years since I had my first match. Well, first proper match. But yeah, didn't think I'd be around this long, but you know, who knows?
Here we go. We've got loads of stuff to talk about. We've even got questions from some people, including somebody who he knows very well, Mr. Ace Matthews. We'll find out what he's obviously got to talk about, but let's roll the intro. Benji, welcome back to the show. I mean, it's obviously been last time, like I said, we were talking about wrestling in Newcastle. So you had a blast. We're talking about your wrestling and stuff like that. Now, first off, Thursday, how's the week been?
It's been good. By Thursday, I know if it's been a good week because I've made it a jiu-jitsu 3 times or I haven't, and this week I've made it twice, which is all right. It's going all right this week. I'm ahead of the week. How about you? Is your week all right? Does anyone ever ask you that?
Yeah, they do actually, but I always give them the same answer, boring answer. It's like, yeah, it's just typical work week, you know, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But how do you juggle all this, by the way, doing the jiu-jitsu thing, obviously the GM stuff, wrestling, like family stuff? How the hell do you juggle all this stuff?
It's one of the reasons like why I started wrestling. You either, if you want to do something, just go and do it. We don't have that long on the planet, and if you really want to do something, you'll just go and do it. You'll make time. I sound like one of those really bad, like Instagram life coaches. There, if you want to do it, you'll make time. But no, like you will.
We only need the music, then we've got nice little like promotional stuff there.
I know, right? You can make some money off this. I want my cut if you are.
Okay, deal. Now, as I mentioned obviously earlier, last time you were obviously on the show, we spoke about your GM side. So we're going to focus a lot on your wrestling side of stuff. Now, let's obviously start at the beginning. I mean, how does your journey begin, obviously, into wrestling?
Oh, where to start? So officially, when I was 15, there was an advert in a local paper, which was advertising wrestling, and my mum knew that I loved wrestling, and I was 15, and I'd done like karate and give that up, and I'd done dancing and give that up, and tried a bunch of daft stuff and give it up straight away. But she knew that I loved wrestling, so she was like, "Oh, rock wrestling training." It's only in Thornaby, and I used to live in Stockton, so I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll go to that." And me and my best mate both love wrestling forever. Like I've loved wrestling for as long as I can remember. Can't remember a time that I didn't like wrestling. As a kid, I had Ultimate Warrior bath salts. That's how long I've liked wrestling for. And yeah, so we went along, and the head coach was Spitfire, and it was WZW, and they were like a promotion based in the northeast in Newcastle, and Spitty had wrestled. I think he lived in Millsborough, so in Thornaby actually. He lived in Thornaby, so he opened the school there, and we went along, and I give that a go for like I think it was like about a year, and then people would tell me you're too small, you'll never be a wrestler. I was 16, and I looked about I don't know, like 10. I was tiny, didn't have the frame for it or anything like that. My mate kept going, and then eventually he stopped as well, but. I had a debut at 15 in a Rumble, so it might be more than 9 years, but I don't count those times. But yeah, then I just got on with life. I went to university and got a job and just just had life. And then I got to 27, and it was one of those now or never moments. And it was like, I'd really like to give this a go, so I did. I can keep talking if you want, or you can butt in.
No, carry on. No, carry on.
Yeah, I seen a poster, and I used to go play Magic the Gathering. Do you know the card game?
Yeah,
Just go to a local card game store and play Magic Gathering. Loved it. Was there every Friday. There was a guy who owned a comic book shop next door, and he had a poster in his window for a show that like he was running, and it had him on the poster. And I was like, "Oh, are you a wrestler? Like playing Magic? Are you a wrestler?" Oh no, I want to run a charity show, and I'm going to get trained. I'm doing this and that, and hopefully at the end I can have a match on the show. And I was like, "Oh well, I'd love to get back into wrestling. If I go train, will you put me on your show?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I've got a rumble. You can jump in the rumble if you want." So I was like, "Oh cool." And he was like, "Well, we do some training in the comic book shop downstairs on a Wednesday night." And it was like, I was like, "Oh, who does the training?" He's like, "Oh, it's just my mate." So I'm like, "Can I come along?" He's like, "Yeah, come along." So I went along to this comic book shop, and they just had like they had a crash mat, and they were just doing moves on each other, picking each other up and slamming each other, and wasn't really wrestling training. It was just this mate knew some moves. And I was like, "Is there actually a real school around here we can go to?" And they're like, "There's NGW up in Chesley Street, but none of us drive, so we can't get up there. The head trainer's Rampage Brown." And I didn't really know anything about wrestling in the UK, like at that time. And I knew from when I was 15, and all that stuff had shut. So, like 3CW was around then, and WZW were around then when I was 15, and all them had shut at the time. So I didn't really know anyone who was involved in wrestling. So I was like, and they were like, "Oh, and there's this EPW in Millsborough." And I was like, "Oh, well, we can get the bus over to Millsborough." So me and the lad that was teaching this comic book guy in the shop went over to Millsborough and started training there. And I just stuck at it, never stopped, just kept going. That's how I started. Just wrestling in a comic book shop.
I love it. That's a unique story. What's obviously Rampage like as a coach? Because a couple of people obviously have sports are saying he's absolutely great, obviously as a coach, and I feel like he's one of the best, like in the UK. Obviously, we spoke about that before we came on the air.
Yeah, he is. And he is a good coach. He's one of those people where I speak a lot when someone asks me like, where should I train? Or, how should I train? I always tell them that look at like the lineage of the trainer and look at like who trained them, because you see a lot of guys and you go, "Oh, who trained you?" And they'll say, "Oh, this guy from this place." And it's like, "Oh, well, who trained him to be a wrestler?" And it's like, they don't know. And someone who probably wasn't very good, who they could just go to closest and they learn on the job or whatever. But with Rampage, obviously, he was trained by the best. When Rampage is showing you how to do an arm drag, he's showing you something that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat shown him. He's being trained by the best. He was trained by Dusty, like Drew McDonald, who was over here too, and a lot of them. And he did All Star, and he was around all the people now that you see on the scene, and you're like, they're legends of the British scene, or they're really good. So you got to work all those guys. So the stuff that he's done. He still trains people now. Like I know, like he was helping training at NXT and stuff. He's posted that on Instagram where he went over to America and trained some of the NXT guys. So he's one of those guys where what you're getting off him is just quality and it's top end. And I would like, if you're a wrestler, like if you are actually a wrestler on the scene, I would tell you to come along to Rampages and train. And he's really good at that, like finishing school stuff. Where you've sort of you've got your act. You know what you're doing. You sort of know how to wrestle, and you need to like tune up and make everything mean something, and all those little bits that matter that people are looking for, not just how to go in there and do moves. You know what I mean? And I think Shreddy said it on a Cultaholic podcast with Tom Campbell. He was saying that people were sharing a lot of his stuff from in Japan and talking about his like facial expressions and his little bits in between. And he was saying that's all down to like Rampage. And that's the sort of stuff that you really do need to go to the next level. So when I get people ask me like, "Oh, like I'm doing these shows, but I want to get to the next shows and get bigger, get to bigger promotions," I always say like, go train with the people who train at the schools that are for the shows that you want to be on, because they're there because of quality. And obviously Rampage has trained a lot of good people. PPW are doing really good at the moment as well. They're training a lot of good people. and like Liam has good lineage as well. He was trained by really good people, so it's one of those things. Yeah, that's why I always tell people, just look at the lineage of who's training you and try and train around the people who shows you want to be on.
Absolutely. What's the biggest thing Rampage has obviously taught yourself?
So for Super Benji, like that character was an underdog. He was he was one of those guys that could just take a pasting and he'd come back, and he was I'm a wrestling fan, and he was the Super Benji is the closest to me, like the closest character I have to me. He was a fan that got lucky and he got to be a wrestler. And what Rampage taught me to do was to sell, like with my face, sell everything that happens in the ring, every moment that happens, be in the moment, be there. And yeah, he used to always tell me, try and sell 12 out of 10 at training, 12 out of 10. If you think you're selling too much, go higher, try and sell more, and we'll try and bring you down. Try and get you to a level where we don't want you to be like dead high, and we'll bring you down to the level that we want to be. And it just gets yourself out that shell. And I think that's something that me and Zero Knox do really well as the Landen Gentry is we sell everything that's happening in the ring. You'll see pictures of our faces in pictures, and we have a group chat with a couple of wrestlers in it, like who we train with, and they're always posting pictures of Zio doing like meme faces in the ring, and it's just so funny. But they're like something that you get taught, like make every moment matter. Hope that answers your question.
That absolutely answers it perfectly. So you mentioned NGW. There's one other show I want to talk about is, and I'm just looking at your career here, is Defiant. Talk about obviously going there.
Yeah, so I was wrestling for 3CW at the time, and 3CW used a lot of the Defiant guys, and this is what I always think got me my shot in the end, is just being around those people that were doing Defiant, or were around Defiant. So people that you probably don't see on screen on Defiant, but work there, and worked at 3CW as well. Like Stevie did both. There's a lot of crossover there. And they just contacted me one day and they said, "Oh, we're changing the format that we're doing. We're doing like TV but on YouTube, and we need like some enhancement talent, basically, like not the jobbers, basically." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm down. Yeah, I'll do that. Why wouldn't I? It's huge." So I turned up, did a tag match, and when we went out, the crowd at Defiant were all the fans pretty much from around Newcastle that go to various other promotions, or the Northeast that go to various other promotions, and even like places like Leeds where I've been. And they all recognised me as soon as I walked out in front of them. So they all just started erupting Benji chants. Benji, Benji, like it was crazy. All the way through. And after that, they were just like, "Yeah, we need to bring you back and we need to use you as something." So I was like, awesome. So it was the fans that did it. Wasn't for the fans reacting like that, I'd have probably just done a couple more and then they'd have used someone else in that role. But the reaction that they give me have obviously afforded me a lot of opportunities. I'm honestly truly thankful for that. I always try and thank fans, or anyone that asks me about Defiant or who's a fan. I always thank them, because they're the ones that pretty much meant I could stay there and do some amazing things.
That's brilliant. Now, 3CW, we were talking about it, and I'm obviously people are going to ask about this one. Your Christmas debut at 3CW, take it away.
Yeah, so 3CW was one of the first places that gave me opportunity after like being at EPW, because I was at EPW. That was a school that we found in Millsborough for nearly 2 years, like wrestling, like sometimes like 4 times a week, 3 times a week would be the regular. Like you'd wrestle on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes you do 2 shows on a Sunday. And I sort of wanted to move on and do like indie stuff, and just branch out, become a better wrestler as well. Like actually, get around, wrestle different people, train different places, do all that stuff, the good stuff. And 3CW were the first place that gave me opportunity, and they said, "Oh, we've got a spot open because there's a wrestler called Stan Kellett and his tag partner Lenny, the Rogues Gallery, and they wrestled there. And I'd done that charity show from the comic book guy, and I met them all there, and I met Stevie, and they remembered me as a small lad who can bump and whatever. And they were like, "Oh, he's an alright lad and he's local." So their show was in Thornaby and I live in Stockton. And that show where I debuted for 3CW, that was where we used to train with WZW in Thornaby. So it was like full circle moment. And when I went, so yeah, they're like, "Oh, got this opportunity. We've got this Christmas match with Ace Matthews against Screwface Ahmed." And I knew Screwface from WZW back in the day. I remember when he was a kid. He was, I don't know, like 13-year-old or something, and he was awesome then. I was like, "Oh, Jamie, yeah, I know Jamie." Still had him on Facebook and stuff, I think. And yeah, so I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that. That'll be cool. I'll come in." They're like, "All right, what we want to do is we want to be like an elf, because this match is like a Christmas match. So anything that's Christmassy is legal. So they're like, you could use like a candy cane in a box, or you could get like a steel chain, wrap it up in like tinsel, and hit them with that, and that's Christmassy. But like, you can interfere as an elf because you're Christmassy." So I was like, "All right, yeah, yeah, I'm down for that." So yeah, I went and done that, and they just booked me straight after that. They're like, "Oh yeah, we really liked what you did, and just give me some advice." So like, there's a Rockstar Spud seminar in Manchester. If you go along to that, that'd be really good. There's these schools locally. You should go there and train there. So I did. And any advice they'd give me, I just took it because I wanted to work there. So it was a local promotion, in Teesside. We don't have any wrestling in Teesside really of any great quality other than like the stuff I was already doing. So yeah, I was like, yeah, definitely snatched their hands off, did everything that they asked me to do. And then 2 years later, that Christmas show, 2 years later, I was wrestling Rampage Brown for the main belt while being the secondary champion and Northeast champion. So yeah, it really did pay off. It was one of those things where it's like, come and be an elf. And then it led on to being like, obviously, in one of the main matches on the card for the belt, which was insane.
So we're 17 minutes in. We've got comic book stars, elves. I mean, what next?
Oh, I've done all sorts. I'm one of those where it's like, if someone wants to use me, I'll come and do it. I'll try and make the most of it. I'll try and be as memorable as possible. Like North just got us along because they had Spike Travane and needed some goons really just to get beat up. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Cool. And then we went and we were memorable, and then they used us again, and just tag team champions now. Been there forever.
Is that the craziest thing you've done? Is the elf thing, or is it something a little bit more?
Let me have a think. I think I was a German for a long while. When we travelled around the UK and I was heel, the guy that trained us, he did the German gimmick as well for another promoter that he worked with, and they toured as well. And he gave me a bunch of his German stuff, and he was like, "Can you be the German when I need you to be a heel?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." Because I was Mercurio at EPW. I wore a mask, silver bodysuit, got made, cost me an arm and leg. And so there's a quote that I seen years and years ago from RJ Singh, and it was something like, "If you want to be a superstar, dress like one. If you want to be a wrestler, get the best gear you can get the best boots you can get, And that's what I went and done. And I was like wrestling all over the country in like this gear that like I spent all my wage on.
Oh dear! So you've
Yeah,
also
being
done
a
all...
German. German was cool. That was awesome. I loved that. Came out with God Save the Queen, but a German version.
What crowd reaction with that?
Oh, I was booed all over. It was great. It was absolutely awesome. It was sort of like that's what helped me, I think, with the Landen Gentry stuff. Just being like this little cowardly heel, cowardly heel German that cheats all the time.
We're going to obviously teaming with you shortly, but you've obviously done a lot of work, primarily obviously in the Newcastle scene, and we obviously spoke about that before. It's a great scene, obviously, the Newcastle area.
Yeah, and it was for a long time. Like, there's always been companies up here with names up here. Like, said WZW back in the day, they had like Samoa Joe, they had Petey Williams on, they had Brian Danielson. Like they had Brian Danielson in Hartlepool. I live in Hartlepool now, so around the corner from my house, they had like Brian Danielson wrestling in the leisure centre. And yeah, the Northeast has always been a weird scene like that. We're so detached from everyone else in the UK as well. So there's a lot of guys that you will just see here, where like obviously if you live in the Midlands, you can sort of go between. The promoter needs a car of wrestlers, they can pick people up along the way, or where in Newcastle it's sort of like it's very hard to get to or to get out of, Northeast in general. You see a lot of wrestlers who are like really good, and it's quite hard to get booked anywhere because there's not many cars coming from the Northeast. But yeah, we have a lot of good stuff. North, obviously, at the moment, they're absolutely smashing it. They're going down to London the weekend on Saturday. They're doing a joint show with 3 other promotions, Attack and Hustle. I think each show's got an hour and a half each. They're just selling tickets for like each show individually and one all together. So that'll be awesome. That's something new as well. I've never wrestled in London, so that's a new one for me.
Absolutely. Somebody's in the comments. Simon Plume says, "Hey everyone, glad to see your hair's finally grown back, Benji. The bald look doesn't suit you."
Yeah, I got my head shaved at Thunderstruck once. So North held their biggest event at the time ever. Thunderstruck in the Walker Dome, and the tag team match, me and Zio against Rory Coyle and Gangrel. And if we won, then Rory Coyle left North and he couldn't come back. But if they won, then I would have my head shaved bald. And they lost, and I was bald. I went all the way down to the bottom. I was fully bald.
And how long did it actually take that to fully grow back?
Well, it's sort of when I don't know if you've ever grew your hair out long, but it gets to a really bad, awkward stage where you look like scruffy as for ages and you can't do anything with it. Like there's nothing like you can do with it. So it's one of those things where I'm playing a Tory, so I sort of have to look all right. You know, I can't just grow out this scruffy hair because I look like Boris Johnson. But yeah, it's taking a while to grow back, and I think I'm just going to keep it short for the time being. And then if I ever need to take any time off, I'll try and grow it back. But I can't grow it back and be active. I was like starting a new job as well, so like I couldn't just grow it back, you know, because I'm going to the office all scruffy and stuff. It's one of them.
We've got a question in the comments. Simon Gibbs says, "Hey Benji, what's the best match you've been in?"
Best match I've ever been in. My favorite match I've ever been in was at MEW in Newcastle, and it was me and Shreddy. It was like Shreddy's one of my best friends in real life. He's an awesome guy. Very similar to each other in terms of personality and stuff. But we got tagged with Shreddy, and we were the heels, and we were against Alexander Henry and his tag partner at the time, Primate. And yeah, that was awesome. It was the best match I've ever had. My favorite match. The crowd was just insane. And Alex is one of my best friends now in wrestling. Like he's an awesome guy. So yeah, it was just mint to have that match, but it was awesome. We did about like 20-minute tag match, and there was I got sent a video off a fan like of his kid, and his kid's watching the match, and he's like, "Ugh." And he turns around to his dad, he goes, "Now this is what you call a match." It's like, oh yeah, that's what wrestling's about. That's what you want. That's the best match I've ever had.
There you go,
The
Simon. Hopefully
Defiant tag team ladder match though, that's a close second. That was awesome. Because when you do ladder matches on like indie shows, I don't know if you've ever seen them, they have like really bad like ladders, like not proper ladders. Like you can climb up one side, it might be like a pasting ladder. The roof's normally too far down where you look like you just grab them. Where Defiant had the budget, so they just give us proper ladders, loads of them as well. We had like 4 ladders or something like that we could play with. The belts were really high. They had this giant ladder, it was huge, absolutely massive. I did a sunset flip off it on Sunset Bomb off the top of it. And you had to stand at the top of this ladder to get the belts. That's how high they were. Like it just felt like a proper like arena show at the time. It was the best thing I've ever done production wise. And that was always the awesome thing about wrestling at Define. It was just the production. The stuff you could do with anything was like legit, you know, like they didn't like you got a chair. It was a chair like you would see at the in the WWE or something. A table, sorry, that you'd see in the WWE, not just like a pasting table or something. Whatever they could find, it was proper high budget stuff. But that's a close second. That ladder match, that was awesome.
there you go, Simon. Hopefully that answers your question. So, talk about obviously working with this guy, Zio. How did this all come about?
So, like I said, so I was training at Rampages, and Zio trains at Rampages. And Zio is really, really, really good. Like he's a really good wrestler. Like he's top class. People just don't know it. They just haven't. They've probably never seen him wrestle, or they just, he's not being in an opportunity where he's allowed to shine as 100%. Zio is I'd say one of the best wrestlers in the UK, and I'm not just saying that because he's my friend. He actually is. Ask anyone that's worked him, they'll tell you he's really good. But yeah, we were at training, and they needed just needed 2 people for. I think it was Shreddy and Lou and Lou Nixon to beat up at North. 2 goons for Spike. So Spike was wrestling HT Drake at North, and they wanted us to come out with Spike, and then Shreddy and Lou were doing a tag team at a time called England's Hardest Men, but they're like security guards, like at the same time. So we came in. So at the end of the match, we were interfering. Like HT Drake beat us up a bit when we were trying to interfere, and then at the end we came in and tried to jump him, but then EHM came up and they just splattered us basically. Gorilla pressed me, shot me at Zio, beat us up, and we did like a good job, and Bowers was happy with it, and he asked us back to do more stuff just separately from Spike. So we weren't even with Spike after that. Like we did one match with Spike after that, then we weren't really with him. We were just our own thing. But we weren't a tag team. We didn't really even talk that much at training. It was just we just got put together. And yeah, it was one of the best things that ever happened in my wrestling career. Was getting put with Zero, as someone you can trust, someone who's a really nice guy as well. You'll never hear anyone say a bad word about him. He's really good. Couldn't say anything better about him really. Just got really lucky. I don't do any shows now. Or I don't do anything. Don't take any bookings now unless it's a tag match and I'm with Zio. But yeah, that's how much I love being in a tag team with him.
How did the name come about? Because that's a really unique name.
So we were looking for like, it's really hard to come up with a tag name that's like, unique or new or, So we were just looking at stuff that you can call posh people really, and Tories, and, how people become rich. And obviously the landed gentry are like people that, have land, or that were like, given land through blood, the landed gentry, they haven't earned it, been given it. It sort of just stuck, and it was like, I think we were originally going to be called the Gentry, and which we do shorten it to all the time. But I just thought landed Gentry just sticks in your head when you hear it, and the hardest thing was coming up with a song, like two like Mean Street Posse type guys, it's quite hard to find a song. We went with the the theme from The Apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
So many times do you hear people talk absolute I was gonna say shit on that. I've talked shit on The Apprentice though, like, when they're like, "Oh, I'm the best businessman," and this and that. I always thought they make really good promos, so I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll use that as our theme."
That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
that's how that came out.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely really fascinating. So before, obviously, we're talking a little bit about the wrestling side again. Is before you go out into a match, do you have like a pre-match? Like, do you psych yourself up? Do you have music? Do you get yourself into a zone?
No, so I look miserable before I go out. Honestly, like people have told me before, like smile. Like, I've had people like stood backstage to me and go, "Smile." You do something like you like, you know what I mean? I'm like, "Oh yeah, but we'll go out there and this doesn't work, or we'll go out there and they don't like it, or I'm a worry of me." And I've had people pull me aside after matches and stuff, and just saying like when I started doing Defiant and stuff, I was like, bloody hell, looking around the locker room and stuff, and it was like insane talent, like I think one show we had like Walter, Gunther, we had like Pac, we had like just star after star after star, it was like crazy. And I was looking around going, I don't deserve to be, you know what I mean? Like going out beforehand, like stood backstage beforehand, be like, let's hope this works. But I'm really nervous before I go out. Sort of, but once I'm out there though, it just switches straight away. I'm into it. But those last couple of minutes before you go out, man, it's hell. But it's for me. I'm sure a lot of people buzz off it. When we started doing North, they play Thunderstruck. It's the first song that they play. Before like Tom comes out and stuff, and but we used to always be on first. Like for a long, long time, we were always on first, or we'd do an angle or something on first, and you'd be stood backstage and Thunderstruck would be on, and you'd sort of be dancing around in it. It'd sort of make all the all the negative thoughts go out your head. There's Sky Sports came here to Newcastle to film North one time, and they put it on Sky Sports, like a little documentary type thing. About 5 minutes, and 15 minutes or something. I think documentary. I think it's still on YouTube now. But there's a picture of us just dancing backstage, like Thunderstruck, I think, at the time, or something. I can't remember whose music was. We're dancing, we're backstage, and it's like, oh, this looks like a really happy place. It's like all nervous.
Simon Plum sent another question. He says, "Big question. You've been in the ring with him, but do you believe in Joe Hendry?"
I believe in Joe Hendry. At, at Defiant, I had to do an angle with Joe, and he didn't have to do it with me. You know, they asked him to do it. He was like still big at the time. Joe's always been like popular with the fans. He's just popular with more fans now. At Defiant, all the Defiant fans loved Joe Hendry, and he got to like. So I came in and I was going into this. I think it was, I can't remember I think it was a 6-man or was it 5-man or something, but it was for a briefcase. And basically, you can use that briefcase on any title. It didn't have to be the main one. You can use it on anything. And I needed to do a promo vid where I was like psyching myself up and, getting ready to do this like 6-man. I was the underdog, in this match. It had like had Darius, Visage, HT Drake, Federalis, probably forgetting someone here, Connor, and MJF in it. And I wanted me to film this video. I got to hype yourself up and like get Joe to do something with you as well. So we did like a Rocky type thing.
Yeah.
Like a montage of him training me up. But it was like really good. And he didn't have to do that for me at all. And he did. And that first show when I was an elf as well, I was laid down on the floor, looking under the curtain, waiting for my spot to go out in this match as this elf. And Joe Henry was leaving. He came over to me. I was just an elf, just an extra on the show. He came over to me. And I was laid on the floor and he was like, I'm going on. I'll see you later. And he like shook my hand and he went off and he showed me that respect. And Joe's just one of those lads where you've seen him now, almost one of the most popular wrestlers on this planet, and I couldn't be happy for him. He's really done really well.
Is he popular or is it just his song?
He was always popular though. Like people always liked him. Like look at him in Defiant. Go watch some of his stuff in WCPW. He was always massive. I think fans just really do like him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. The song just seems to always pop up everywhere, even on TikTok.
Yeah, he's done good with that though, hasn't he? Like you see it everywhere. Like I'll just be watching something non-wrestling related, like on TikTok or something, and it'll just be him. It'll just be like, do you know where it's like they'll go this something, and then they'll open something and show you inside, and it'll be just joinery. It's like he's made it, man. It's insane. People are in the download. I go to download like pretty much every year now, and they're in the group saying, "Oh, we need Joe Henry on. We need Joe Henry on." I think at Download Festival singing his song.
It's brilliant. It's a great thing. So this next question kind of stumps a lot of people, but it's not designed for that. So for people obviously who's not familiar with yourself, why should fans go check out Benji? This is kind of like to promote yourself a little bit.
Why should they check out me? That is a really how do people answer the question? Why should they check out me? I'm involved with a lot of good stuff. Like the stuff we're doing at North is really good quality and it's really good production. It's on Fight Plus Plus. That's like the main place. It's called Triller Plus now. They changed the name of it. It's on that. So if you have Triller Plus, it's all North stuff's on there. They have their own Patreon, and it's all really good quality stuff. Good commentators, which you don't like. There's not many in the UK that like put really good commentary into it. So they have like Veda Scott and Tom Campbell on comms. They've got angles, backstages, and interviews, and it's all proper stuff. And it's like what you would see on TV. It's high quality, wrestling, and that's what I'm involved in. I'm on those. I'm on North, so like, go check those out. If you want some high quality British wrestling. I'm not saying that's me. I'm saying that's like the companies I work for.
You're part of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everyone seems to stump on that question, but it's like it's not designed for that. It's just more to like promote yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I get that. I'm really hard at that though. Like, if anyone like, I'm one of the luckiest guys I think in wrestling. I'm short, don't really have a good look, and like, I'm all right at wrestling, and I've managed to do a lot. I managed to do a lot more than I probably should have. And I always just count myself lucky. I'm a wrestling fan that got the chance to get in the ring and wrestle, and there's a lot of thing in wrestling sometimes where it's like, you can't be a fan. It's like I've always been a wrestling fan for as long as I can remember, and I got very lucky, and I've got to wrestle for 9 years in front of good crowds with good people, and yeah, I count myself very lucky.
Okay, That's fine. That's fine. So we posted on Twitter that if fans could obviously post questions, and we actually got 4 questions. We're going to obviously go through these now. And I think, have you seen these questions?
I've seen a couple of them. Yeah, they're just trying to troll me, aren't they? I've seen them.
Let's go through them one by one. So the first one is from Keg Stacker, who said, Zio Knox or Joe Rage?
So for those of you, so we haven't talked about Joe Rage yet. So Joe Rage, I met at EPW, and the first time I ever met him, we tagged his tag team. And Joe, I don't know if you've ever seen him, Joe Rage. He's a big lad, about like 6'2", 6'3", about like 18, 20 stone. He's huge. And he's handsome as well, very handsome man. You know, melts some hearts, Joe Rage. And I always thought we looked quite similar. In the sense of, like, you know, Bruce Banner and the Hulk. And I always thought that we could pull off being a brothers tag team. So when we both left EPW and we were both doing our own thing, I was like, oh, do you want to be a tag team? We can be brothers. And I'll be your older brother. I'll be Benji Rage and you can be Joe Rage. And I'll be the older brother. And you can be my little brother and I can call you Little Joe and stuff. And you're huge, obviously. It's in class. Good act, that. And we did it. It was really good. It was class. It was awesome. We fooled a lot of people into believing that we were really brothers as well. Backstage one time, Grado came up to me and he was like, oh, Benji, how you doing? How you doing? He's like, I'm seeing you in ages. We had a chat and that. And then he was like, how's your brother doing? I was like, how do you know my brother? He was like, your brother? I was like, who? He was like, Joe. I was like, oh, Joe. I was like, nah, he's not a brother. We're just proper into it, you know. We just always say that we're brothers all the time. And he goes, oh, no way. He's like, don't tell anybody that. And I'm telling everyone it now. I don't think I've ever told anyone that story on a podcast or out before. So, but yeah, Grass and Grado. Grado thought we were brothers, and Chop as well from North. Chop's the music guy at North. And he believed for ages that we were brothers. For ages. But Joe Rage or Zio Knox. It's too hard. Just because he's my tag team partner now, I'm gonna have to pick Zio Knox. But you know, I see Joe a lot, and you know, we're best pals. We're at a wedding the other day together. It was good.
There you go, Keg. Hopefully that answered your question, pal. Next up is from Mike Groom. He says, is it true that Stevie Aaron absolutely destroys you on Street Fighter?
So Mike Groom is the former owner of 3CW. So that's why he's trying to troll me here. So we often go to a thing in the Northeast called NERG, Northeast Retro Gaming something festival, maybe. NERG, it's just called anyway. And it's every year. And they have arcades there and they have pinball machines. I love the pinball machines because I own 2 arcades. I own Street Fighter 2 and I own Mortal Kombat 2 as well in my house. I play them quite a bit. I love Street Fighter. Street Fighter's my favorite game ever. And Street Fighter 2. And we went there, and the night before, right? So Stevie gives it the big one for NERG every year. Oh yeah, afterwards we'll go out on the lash, you know, and we'll stay out all night and have a good night. Go get some nice food. So I'm like, yeah, I'll get a hotel then. So I get a hotel and I stay over on the Saturday with intentions to go to this NERG on a Sunday. And we get there, and he's putting it off all day. We're like, oh, let's meet up, Stevie. Let's meet up. So me and Stan go to the like an arcade in Newcastle. We go to an arcade up there, and Stevie comes in, and we play each other on Street Fighter, and I absolutely whoop him. Like, doesn't come anywhere close. I'm beating him with Blanca. Do you know what I mean? It's that easy. And then we go to the gaming thing the next day, and he's like, oh, I'm sober now. First thing I do, as soon as I walk through the door, I'm hungover, by the way. I'm hanging. I didn't go to sleep until 3. I walk in, hungover as out. I haven't really yet. And he drags me over to Street Fighter 2 straight away. Not even Super Street Fighter 2, just the regular standard slow Street Fighter 2. So we go over, I'm like, oh, this is the crap Street Fighter 2. This is what we're playing this one for. He's like, no. So we play, and he beats me. He perfects me, actually. Just 1 round. Yeah, I wasn't playing, you know, properly. I was like, I was blanker again just to try to, you know, embarrass him. And he's like, I've got you now. And there's a picture of us on Instagram that he's took of me stood next to the machine where I've been perfected. And now they're using that to troll me, where any other time Stevie Aaron wouldn't come close, and he knows it.
Dear Stoker says, answered nicely, cheers. Outlaw still won't have it though that you aren't brothers.
We look nothing alike. We just had I had to get Joe's haircut. That was another thing. So I had just long hair, and Joe had like his sides shaved on one side and all down one side. and we were doing this gimmick. So I was like, well, I'm gonna have to have the same hair as you, right, for us to look like brothers. So I had to shave one side of my head off, and it's quite hard to just grow back one side of your head.
Yeah.
So I had to have that hair forever, but like up until like, so this was like when I left and we started being brothers up until the pandemic, and then during the pandemic, I was like, right, I'm growing it all out. So I cut it all off short and grew it back properly. So when I came back, I could have proper long hair. Then Gangrel shaved it off anyway. But yeah, we had to get the same haircut. That's some dedication, that. Telling you.
There it is. There it is. Next question is, of course, from Ace Matthews. He says, as the savior of North Wrestling, how do you also manage to remain a humble inspiration to the rest of the roster?
It's just, so some people have it, some people don't, do they? Can't really teach that, being an inspiration. Just keep going, kids. One day you might be just as good as me and Ace.
Okay. Question 4. It's from Simon. Says, will Landen Gentry end up splitting up over the North Championship if you both decide to get that title?
Right. So this is quite a funny one, right? Because the North Championship obviously is a singles title in North Wrestling. I've never had a singles match at North ever. Always been tag matches. So if CEO wants a singles title, he can go for it. I have no interest. I'm tag team champion.
It's a great belt, that, by the way.
It's really nice, isn't it? Just gonna see it close. There we go. Look, it's got 2 polar bears on there. It's cool, isn't it?
It's the triangle what gets me.
Oh yeah, really nice. I'll put it down there. But yeah, no, I don't want single titles now. I just want tag belts. If you've got a tag team championship in your promotion, contact me and Zio, and we will come and take those belts.
There you go. There you go. So a few little more questions also to begin to wind down a little bit is, do you have any opponents you obviously like to face? You've obviously been around a bit, so you've obviously got to wrestle a lot of people. But is there any people on your list you'd like to wrestle, tag team or single?
There's loads. One of them that sticks out the most though is Reese and Rogan. I'd love to wrestle Reese and Rogan, but they're normally like heels everywhere, and we are. But I think that you could get away with them trying to beat us up. I think the fans would just get behind them. I think we're so much of bad guys that people really want to see us get our head kicked in. But Reese and Rogan are up there. I always want to wrestle Crash Boat as well. We haven't done that. That'd be awesome. Who else was there? We've already wrestled Chuck Mambo and TK Cooper. We've done that twice, and I've loved both matches. I'd like to do that again for a third time. I think we're 1-1 at the moment, so I'd like to do that. But, there's loads I could go on forever. There's loads of good wrestlers out there, but there's not that many face tag teams. I don't know what it is. It's quite hard to find. Even as a promoter myself, looking for just face tag teams really hard. Ones that are a proper tag team, matching gear, and the wrestlers a tag team everywhere. It's really hard to find.
Yeah, it is. What about promotion-wise? Any promotions you like to obviously tick off?
Well, we did Progress once. As a pre-show. That was insane. LOL. So me and Zio were backstage watching Dragunov and Devlin, who were both in WWE now, watching those on the monitor, and we were watching them with Walter and Eddie Kingston. And that was insane. Again, that's one of those moments where you're just like, what am I doing here? But I'd love to wrestle for Progress again. If they ever came up here, I'd love to do that. And ICW as well. I think we'd fit in so well at ICW. I think it'd just be an awesome gimmick. And they already have Thatcher Wright as well, who does something similar. So it'd be awesome to team up with him. I think that'd be awesome. He does the Maggie Thatcher gimmick with a little Maggie Thatcher book. I think we'd be awesome as a little team. But ICW and Progress, they're 2 places I'd love to wrestle for those. I haven't wrestled for True Grit as well. Yeah, I was meant to, but I had to drop out last minute. I'd love to go and do that again. Hopefully we'll get another chance there. But yeah, I like True Grit. Really good promotion.
Simon Plum sent another question, and he says, have you ever faced off against Subculture?
I haven't. The Rat show that we did in Scotland, Community Pro Wrestling, in Govan. So we did a show in Glasgow in Govan, and they were on there. It was a tag team tournament, so they had a load of tag teams on, and Subculture were on there, and yeah, it'd be really good to wrestle them. 2 really good guys, awesome. And they are like a really good first tag team. I don't know why I didn't think about them, but yeah, Subculture would be awesome.
Absolutely. So one final question before we head off is, what's the goals obviously for you now for the rest of the year?
So personally, like I want to in wrestling, I just want to just give people stuff that they remember. Really, that's what I always try and do. I'm not one of those wrestlers that like want to go out there and have like like amazing matches. I'm more someone that wants to go out there and do stuff that the fans will remember. But that's one. Just keep doing that. Keep doing that. And obviously in jiu-jitsu, I'm doing jiu-jitsu competitions as well. So I want to keep winning as many of those as I can. I've got another one coming up in October at the Walker Dome as well. So like North do their big events at the Walker Dome in Newcastle, and I've got a jiu-jitsu competition there in October, which is awesome. But yeah, just for the rest of the year, just carry on what we're doing. I'd like to add a couple of more promotions to ones that me and Zio have worked for. We've had like a good since the pandemic. We've managed to wrestle like around quite a bit, and we've done like a lot of cool stuff that we're really proud of. So it'd be good to keep adding to that list. A lot of firsts are still coming in. Like I said, first time getting a wrestle in London at the weekend. I like doing anything like that, like firsts that we still haven't done. We've been a tag team for a long time now, and we're still getting to do like a lot of firsts. Win our first tag team titles. We've never been tag team champions anywhere. We got to do that recently and get a wrestle in London. We got to wrestle in Scotland as well this year. So just new firsts, anything like that really would be awesome.
Absolutely. So we've obviously got loads more interviews lined up. Next week we've got Gunnar Rig. I'm sure you know this guy.
I do, yeah. I was there for Gunnar Rig's first ever training session, trained by Rampage Brown and HT Drake.
There you go. We've also got Scott Bell coming up. We've also got Zio Knox, weirdly. Yes. He's coming on the show. And finally, of course, the keg stacker himself. So we've got 4 massive, obviously, interviews coming up. Benji, this has been an absolute blast, my man. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Hopefully people have enjoyed listening to it. Just me just talking about myself, like proper arrogantly for like nearly 50 minutes.
There you go. So before we head off, mate, is there anything you'd like to plug?
Oh, yeah. So we've got Grand Slam. There we go. That's Saturday the 16th of November for wrestling in Newcastle. So this is my promotion. So if you've ever supported me before in the past and you still want to support me now, come and watch us. We offer some amazing wrestling. You've been to one, haven't you? You enjoyed it?
Yes. I absolutely loved it.
Because you're here, but wrestling in Newcastle is a promotion that started with a couple of other people last year now. And this is our second year in, and this is our last event of the year. And it's at a brand new venue. So normally we run the Forest Hall Social Club, and we've got a cap on that of like 300 people, and we always sell out well in advance. So we thought, let's try a bigger venue, see if we can get more people in. It's got better parking. I know anyone who's been to our events before will say the parking's not very good, but we've got proper parking. The event's at 2 p.m. as well. It's not one of them late wrestling shows where you're going to go to and it's going to finish at like 11 o'clock and you've got to travel back home and you might have like a 2-hour trip or even just a 1-hour trip and you're not getting back until like God knows what time, so it's starting at 2, it'll probably finish about 5, I reckon, at the latest. So you'll be if you're traveling up on train or, you're just driving up. If you're driving, you're going to be finished at 5, you're going to be at a drive back home. So you've even got like a 2-hour trip home. You're still going to be back by like 7, 8 at the latest. But yeah, I want to plug that as much as I can.
Absolutely. And also wrestling in Newcastle's on YouTube. All shows apart from the last ones also on YouTube, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so it's one of those things as a wrestler. I used to hate it when you go wrestle for somewhere and you'd never get your footage, or it'd be locked behind a paywall, or even just as a fan, you want to go. I even like as a wrestler, I want to go watch someone's matches who I might be wrestling, or I want to check out new talent as a promoter or whatever. All these matches are locked behind paywalls everywhere. I understand it, but I want to be one of those promotions where if you want to go watch our stuff, it's all available for free on YouTube with comms, a proper edit. There's angles in there, and there's interviews, the lot. Like, it's a proper full wrestling event. Most of them are only 2 hours long as well. They're not like, a 4-hour wrestling event, like you get now. Just 2 hours. And it's TV style wrestling as well. So like shorter matches with angles and things that lead to the next event, and there's reasons for all the matches that are happening. But it's all available for free on YouTube, and there always will be. I'll never put them behind the paywall.
There you go. And the best part of wrestling in Newcastle is it's only £10 per ticket, or Is it 3 or 4 for 30 quid? Correct me.
So
It's
it's
one of those.
£10 a ticket, or it's 4 for 30. So the reason why it's like that is because, you know, I'm a parent, and when I take my child somewhere, I have to pay more for some reason. Like, if my kid wants to go see something, it's like child ticket £5, adult one like 8 or whatever. It's like, just give me one price, you know. So yeah, it's one of those. It's if you come in with your if you come in with your friends, 4 friends, you can jump onto the group of 4 tickets, not a family ticket. There's no child ticket in there, so it's one of those. It's we say wrestling for everyone. That's our headline at wrestling. So if you watch wrestling on TV, or you go to local shows, or if you've just never been to wrestling before, it's somewhere where you can come and you're going to get a good representation of wrestling in the UK. You know, it's all good names on there, all good matches. And like I said, if you've seen wrestling on TV, it's going to look like that as well.
I mean, there's
So these
3
are the
great
3
matches.
matches that we've announced already for Grand Slam. We have 8 matches in total for this one. Normally we do 7. It's just a thing we do all the time. We're doing 8 for this because this is our biggest one. And it's in Hadrian Leisure Centre in Wallsend in Newcastle. Like I said, £10 for a ticket, or 4 for 30. And we've got a lot more good matches to announce as well for this one, all with reasons for them to be there too.
And I cannot wait for that World Championship match. I really cannot.
Oh no, it's been good. Good build up. Like on the last one at Summertime Showdown, Shreddy couldn't even be there. He was in Japan wrestling. He was like, you know, side of the planet. And the event ended with everyone chanting his name, ready for that main event. So I'm looking forward to it as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Benji, it's obviously in the show on. What we'll do is like a little inspirational message for people out there, and then we'll roll the outro. No pressure.
What, me? Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm a like if you ever thought of, like, you know, getting involved in wrestling, just give it a go. If I want to do anything in life, just give it a go, because, you know, look at me. I've got to do quite a lot in wrestling, and when I was 15, people told me I was too small, I'd never be a wrestler, and I'd never do anything. And, you know, I've done all right. You know, if you want to give something a go, give it a go. What did I say earlier? Can we just put that bit over there? What I said at the beginning. Put that over there.
I'd have to crop it and change it and stuff like that.
But if you want to do something, just give it a go. You know, it's the worst that can happen.
There you go. Thanks for watching, guys.